Okay, thank you. And I will call the September 20th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. So the first order of business is our public comment period. Is there any public here who would like to speak on any topic that's not already on our agenda? I see no one, so I will need a motion to close the public comment period.
I'll put forward a motion to close.
Thanks, Pat. Need a second? Simon seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. So the next topic is a full environmental assessment form for the sanitary sewer benefit area, the expansion for a project located on Cuyahoga Heights Road, Twin Glens Road, and East Shore Drive in the village of Lansing. Now we can only go through go ahead, Jody.
It has not been reviewed by Mike Scott, and he has not sent it to Tompkins County for a 239 review yet. So
Right.
We should actually wait till that is back before we do anything with it.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. I wasn't sure what the progress was on it. I had heard that he had not sent it in. So for this one, we're going to have to table that until we get everything turned into the county and we receive their 239 review comments. And it might be a meeting or two. Sometimes it takes the county a little while to go through their review and to send their comments. So this topic is tabled for a future session. The next topic is to discuss the new Lansing Meadows sidewalk escrow estimate. This is due to the fact that the original estimate that John Courtney gave us is many months, if not a couple of years old. And we wanted him to find out if the costs have fallen or gone up. And if you received his email today, you see that the costs have increased. And so we would probably need to approve that amount. I've got to open up my email for that. Oh, here it is. Okay, if you saw his email, the final cost rose to $152,859. This would include if the village had to do this project and we paid the New York State prevailing wage. Obviously, if the developer wants to do this sidewalk themselves, they could save some cost on the wages potentially, but most likely the material costs would be very similar to what is shown here, because they would need to build the sidewalk to the specifications of our engineers, and that's what John used with I think T.G. Miller's and Brent Cross's input. So I would need a motion to discuss this and eventually vote on it.
I'll make a motion to discuss.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Simon and Randy. Okay, now are there any questions on these line items?
Can I just ask, are we voting on this tonight, or we're just discussing it and we'll vote on it later?
We do not have to approve it tonight. We are discussing it. We can table a decision for a future meeting if we're so inclined.
Yeah.
I don't know if the numbers. Go ahead, Jody.
Isn't this something that the planning board needs a number so that they can do the new special permit? That is why it's on the agenda tonight, and you would need to set the amount tonight as by resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Lisa. Question.
I was going to thank you, Jody, for saying that. That was one of the reasons for kind of being kind of quicker than usual perhaps, and we'd ask John if he could possibly do that in time for your meeting this evening, because we are hoping, we're very anxious to move this project along. And whatever it takes to do that, we're willing to do that. And John did make, fulfilled our request to get it to you. So we would hope that you could make a decision. If not, well, that's fine too, but I think we'll be having some discussions with the developer more than perhaps one meeting. So if it's something that causes some concern, we're willing to wait.
Okay. Are there any concerns with the numbers or the total amount or any of the information John provided in this document?
None for me. I think this, I would assume that it kind of coincides a little bit with the information we put together for Dark Drive. We know, what the costs are, the various materials, and it's gone up since then, and what the concrete cost, and labor for putting forms in and pouring and so forth. So I think it's good.
Okay.
It would suggest that we go ahead and approve it so we can pass it on to the planning board. Excuse me.
Okay.
The only question that I had, I just want to make sure that we've dotted our I's, crossed our T's. I understand that the cost will go up. I expected that. But on the one that the estimate that we voted on last year, it was October of last year. It said the estimate was to install 596 linear feet of concrete walk, and this one says 760 linear feet of concrete walk. I just don't want that to be a contentious issue down the track if we approve this. I just didn't know why we had gone from 596 to 760, or if that was a mistake. Because then I see site earthwork says 596.
I'm trying to see. Oh, I see site earth, 596 of rough grade fill cut.
Yep. In the very first paragraph, the estimate, this estimate is to install approximately 760 linear feet.
I see. And what was the original amount? The linear?
The one from last October was for 596 linear feet.
Okay. And John's not on the call, so we can't ask why there was a difference.
I don't want to be a pain and hold things up,
No,
but I just want to make sure that we dotted everything.
It might, I can only surmise that there have been recent discussions on the final design for the sidewalk. The original estimate was based upon a preliminary design, and it might be that the new design added some linear feet, but I'm only guesstimating on that. So if we're concerned about it, we can vote to postpone it, or we can just get clarification from John as to why the linear feet increased. Bill.
Can I make a suggestion that you propose the resolution as giving you authority to choose the correct number after you speak with John? That protects us on the downside.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, but you said it much clearer. A clear legal mind.
We'll
Thanks, Bill.
see.
Thanks, Bill.
It seems like they were trying to connect the path going over to the YMCA. I remember that coming up, but it'd be good to get clarification on it.
That could be part of it too, because this is the first time I actually saw the sidewalk extending north to south over to the YMCA. So that could add some additional feet.
Yep.
And Eric is aware of that sidewalk. And that's part of the final design that has been discussed in recent meetings.
One of the line items does, the next to the last line item on this quote for 152,859 does refer to that 596 number. So yeah, it's probably best to just be sure we all know what's happening.
Okay. Anything else?
So based on what Bill said, are we trying to pass a resolution here?
I think
Yeah.
you'll want to, because we're gonna have a meeting coming up with this fellow, and you want to be able to have this in place for the next meeting.
Right.
So what you can say basically between these two numbers with the mayor to fix the final number based on the discussion with John, something along those lines.
Right.
Okay.
So we would pass this, and then after I communicate with John, which I will do by email and copy each of you on it too, all of you on it. I'll ask him to verify the 760 feet and why was that more than the original escrow, and he can give us an explanation. And if there's any concern about that, then we can come back and modify this resolution. But this is a good starting point. I think we're probably okay, if that's all right. And I would be authorized to make that change once I get the numbers from John.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I am too. So we're passing it, but you're going to get the final numbers, right?
The
Now,
final
one
number-
item. Right.
Okay.
So if there's no more discussion, I would suggest that we vote. All those in favor?
First,
Sorry?
you need a first and a second.
Oh, sorry, first and second, yes. I need a motion and a second to vote on this number as a resolution with the proposed changes that Bill recommended.
So moved.
Randy
I'll-
moves,
I'll second.
Pat seconds. Okay. There's no further discussion. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, Jody. Go back to my agenda, keep us on track.
You want to approve the minutes, Mayor?
No, I did
Yeah.
jump, I completely jumped over that. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes from August 30th, 2021 and a second.
So
I'll
moved.
move past them. Oh, sorry. I'll second them, Ronnie.
Randy
Randy.
moves, Pat seconds. All those in favor of approving the draft minutes as the final minutes from August 30th, 2021, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sorry about that. The next topic then is the considered proposed change to the bus stop location on Uptown Road. Carolyn, you weren't at our noon meeting, but we discussed this for a little while. TCAP would like to use a contractor to build a bus shelter or a bus stop with a shelter on the north side of Uptown Road, almost across from the little wooden structure that the village had built many years past. We had concerns, John expressed concerns, and we had talked about our concerns with there's just not enough room on the north side of that road to build a structure safely, and or the structure would have to extend over into state land to make it safe. And that's a lot of complexity for something like this. And we're not sure we want to do that, but I wanted to wait until this meeting to let people think about it and discuss it a little bit. And does anyone else have other concerns, or are you for this, Randy?
I drove past there this morning, I guess it was. And it is where they're proposing it is, as you said, almost directly across from an existing bus stop.
Right.
And there's no pull off on either side. There will not be any pull off on the new one, and there's no pull off on the current one. And the current one, by the way, is next to a sidewalk, which makes a lot more sense. And I suspect if we allow them to put something new up, we have to create a crosswalk, with yield signs and so forth, or it seems to me it's too dangerous. And the fact that it's going to go and encroach into state land.
Right.
And then it's like, what happens if you get two buses at the same time on both sides of the street? And the street's fully blocked. It just doesn't make sense.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Randy. I drove past there a couple times today. Second time I drove past, there was a person waiting at each bus stop directly across from each other. So the one, as you would be driving then east, so the one on the northern side of the road. So he was standing in the shoulder. We've got like a 3-foot shoulder there. And then the other kid that was on the south side wasn't using the bus shelter. People don't really use the bus shelters. He was also standing in the shoulder, and so I was driving down the middle, one either side. I actually sort of went into the middle of the road because I just feel a little unsafe with someone standing in each shoulder. So I gave myself a lot of room. I don't think you can build a bus shelter one across from the other. People don't wait in the bus shelters; they still wait outside. I mean, I'm sure they wait in the bus shelters if it's raining or snowing, but in good weather like today, they're still standing out in the road, and to put them across from each other.
Correct.
If they were separated by 100 feet, you're still doing a chicane drive through there. So I think the
Yeah,
one bus shelter is fine.
Hey, Bill,
I also want to talk about this too. I think it's dangerous. I use that road quite a bit from when I come back from PT. I always go there the back way, and it's dangerous because the kids aren't really paying attention half the time. They're on their phones,
Right.
and they're crossing. You don't know what they're doing, and you got traffic coming both ways. I think it's a little dangerous. But
plus
pretty,
it gets dark at 5 o'clock in the winter.
yeah.
And hey, Bill, where's our liability lie with this?
I wouldn't think there's much. It's not your decision. All you can do is try to talk TCAT out of this. TCAT's answer will be 90% of our bus stops in the county are probably like this. And they may exercise, I don't know their legal basis for doing this, but they sure do seem to get their way where bus stops are placed.
Well, so there's a bus stop there now. Suppose somebody gets run over and killed. The village is going to get sued.
Well,
TCAT's
you can always get sued. It doesn't mean you're going to be held liable. I don't think the village has any liability here. You might have more liability if you made them change it and someone got killed and they came in and said, we didn't make this change, we would have been better off. Even then, I don't think you would have had a problem because it's ultimately TCAT's decision.
So we're just saying no, it sounds like.
Well, I didn't drive down with this in mind, but I'm wondering, why does everyone think having a bus stop is more dangerous than not having a bus shelter? It seems to me like a shelter's safer. Am I missing something?
I believe what I understand from looking at it, it's right next to a ditch. And the ditch is basically heading over to Route 13. And so, and my understanding was that's state land. So at some point there, we would be encroaching on state land to build this shelter. There's no way to do it without encroaching on state land. So it seems like that's the easy out, is that no.
Well, let me correct you. We're not building anything. It's really TCAT or the county that's doing it.
Right.
So don't start saying we're building this if we're not.
No.
doing it.
No,
Dear Lord.
their contractor, the contractor's name, John gave us at Thursday's meeting, but I don't recall it.
Right.
I guess the thing we're actually voting on is whether or not we support their proposed building of a bus stop on the north side. And I agree. I drove there a couple of times over the weekend and looked at that, and it's a pretty steep ditch. And the wire mesh fence, the hurricane fence that's on that, when you're driving down Uptown on the north side of that road, everything to the north of that is state land. And there's not much space in there. They would have to do a lot of buildup within that ditch to make a stop level with the road. And then you're going to have water running through that ditch at some point. So it's going to erode and potentially cause problems later if that stop basically crumbles into that ditch with people standing on it. So I just don't feel that it's a safe road to build on.
Well, I mean, if they follow the proper stormwater management protocols, wouldn't we want to encourage public transportation and therefore encourage the building of bus stops?
Yes, we would want to encourage, but not in a location where it's potentially dangerous. And I think that we have more experience with that road than TCAT does, as far as the land around. They have experience with the road service and the people waiting on the side of the road, but they don't have the knowledge that we have related to the land beyond the road, extending to the north toward 13.
I feel as though putting the bus shelter over there encourages people then to go to that side, which is somewhat dangerous, as we've said. So if we don't have any jurisdiction though over this and they can build what they want, I would recommend to them that either they get rid of the village bus shelter and put up something nicer to encourage people to stay on that side and then cross when they have to when the bus comes. Or if they really want to build the bus shelter, they need to be separated by a good distance, because one across from the other, it's fairly narrow through there. It's difficult. So
They need
I'd rather
to
they do it, but if
distance.
they have to, that would be my recommendation, that they separate them by a good distance.
I wonder if having two bus shelters, one on each side of the street, is somehow strategically beneficial. It just like encourages a heavy use of bus in the area. I mean, I don't know that, but I'm just saying what is their rationale for wanting to put it there? Did I miss that part of the discussion?
Well, the rationale is that they already have people that are on their own waiting on the north shoulder. And they wanted to give the buses a way of, they want to find a way of keeping those people away from the road surface so that when the buses and traffic go by, there's not as much danger. But the problem is they're building the stop, whether it's a shelter or not, I don't know. If they're building it there, they're building it in an area that it's going to cause construction problems with the integrity of that stop because of the ditch that's there and the future runoff and water. When we have extreme rain events, we'll be running through that area. And it's eventually, unless they can over-engineer it so that it's got a stormwater pipe or something under it to move the water. But we haven't seen those types of plans. They just said that they wanted to make a bus stop for riders to wait on the north side.
Well, I mean, if I were a bus rider, I would want, unlike Simon who says they don't use the shelter, I would want to be in the shelter. If I felt like there was a dangerous curve where people were coming fast down Upton Road, I would want to be in a shelter. I would want to be off the road if I were one of those riders. And I think to the extent that they could make it stormwater management friendly by doing maybe more build out of stormwater management than they would have to in another location, then I would be in favor of that. I'd be in favor of engineer this so that you know you're not going to cause stormwater management problems and give people a place to ride the bus safely.
When I'm talking safety as well, I'm not just talking about pedestrian safety, I'm talking about driver safety as well. Because I don't like having to pull into the middle of the road when I'm driving down the road to avoid pedestrians like that. So that's why I wouldn't want them one across from the other.
It encroaches on the road, the bus shelter? I mean, I haven't
No,
seen.
no. I mean, if you, because what I'm saying is today, like there were people waiting at both bus stops. One has a shelter, one doesn't. But they're not in the bus shelters. They're still standing at the road. So just by having the bus shelter there doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go into the bus shelter, particularly in good weather. So they're still standing in that shoulder of road, which is only 3 feet, which is right next to the road. And they're directly, I mean, it's like when I'm sure you drive down Cuba Heights Road and there happens to be someone running this way and someone running that way, you can't stay in your lane. You've got to come out. And on that road, again, as Randy says, when it's middle of winter and it gets dark and there's snow and there's a incline to that road, I don't want to see them one across from the other.
Lisa had a comment too. Go ahead, Lisa.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Just in terms of if it would be just, well, so they're asking for your support, whatever decision is made, but they can obviously seems go ahead without your support. Is that correct? But number two is, wouldn't they have to apply for some sort of special permit or something to the planning board for to build this thing or a building permit or something so that some of the issues like stormwater management and things might be addressed. I don't really know. This is kind of an odd little,
Yeah, I'm not sure either, kind of thinking, but that's,
but I mean, you can't just go erecting structures without some sort of permit in our village usually. I would think that there might be something that we could address some of those issues. And I guess it's not a possibility to go to the state and encroach onto their property. Is that the other thing?
I think, I'm not sure. I suspect that they could not encroach.
Yeah.
Jody,
I think what happened is I think a permit came to Mike Scott, and the whole issue is about, do we want to allow it in the village right of way? If we say, no, we don't want it in the village right of way, then they would have to go to the state to try and get the bus stop, which would sit back further.
Why don't we go have a conversation with them? Somebody, John and whoever, you or Ronnie or me, I don't care. Let's have a face-to-face or a Zoom meeting with them rather than just giving them a yes or a no.
we
So
could table the decision then and get more information.
Yeah,
I like that idea because I would like to find out what their rationale is, how we can encourage the use of environmentally friendly transportation within the village, and how we can, provide safety for people who are using public transportation.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree to table it till we speak with them.
Okay. Then I will pass along to Mike and or John to set up a meeting with TCAT, and so that we can discuss this and we can tell them our concerns, and perhaps they could share their plans with us and we'll have more information.
I think there might be a nice compromise if it was maybe half in the village right away and then half in the state land, and then it would be set back a little bit. So Simon's concern about drivers would be eased. And then also my concern about pedestrian safety would be eased. And so maybe we could talk about that with them.
Correct. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. And if any of you, I will copy you on the email that I sent to John and Mike. And if any of you are interested in attending that meeting, please let us know through that email that you would be interested in attending. And it would probably be by Zoom. Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll move on. There's one here. There's a topic that we need to discuss that wasn't on the agenda. We had talked about it at last Thursday's meeting, but it's to discuss the DPW plate tamper purchase. John sent us the estimate, a photo and an online ad for what they're looking at, and then also the estimate. Did you all get a chance to look at that estimate?
and for Carolyn's benefit, this is in lieu of a side loader that they had put into the budget for. And so instead of, go ahead, Jody.
It's not in the budget. I went and researched that because I don't remember that ever being in the budget. And it's not. The only piece of equipment that we have in the general budget under 5110.2 is for $151,000 for the loader. So I'm
The front
not
loader.
really sure why he thinks that's in the budget.
Okay. So we would not be deferring the payment for a side loader or side bucket, right? Okay. So we would be assuming the cost within one of our funds. And according to Jody, our contingency fund is basically empty. We've already used it this year. We would have to transfer this money from one of our other funds. And we, as trustees, would have to decide that we would allow this purchase and to help decide which fund it would come from, be transferred from, or come out of, whatever.
So Jody, the front loader was budgeted at 150.
151, yes.
And what was it we were discussing Thursday that we want to get rid of one front loader and bring in the new one? What was that new price?
That was, it was the right estimate for that one. $150,732. but they were saying that we would get a trade-in of $67,500 or sending it to the free auction or the other municipality in hopes to get 75,000 or more.
Yeah. And that 67 or 75 for the trade-in is not, that was already sort of budgeted to go someplace.
So we budgeted, yes, 151 to buy the loader, and we budgeted that we were going to be able to sell the other loader for 75,000, not the 67.5.
So we would have to completely fund an I don't remember what the new cost was. I saw it here earlier, $8,000.
$8,005, according to John's estimate
How
that
much?
he received. $8,005.
Okay.
Nope, $8,050.84.
All right, so I'm going to challenge us and say that we didn't budget for it. Things are tight and we probably shouldn't run out and buy this.
Can I ask what the use would be? Like, what would it be used most often for? What tasks would it most often perform?
It
When you
used,
put down stone or gravel or sand, like a base for sidewalks and a base for roads before you put pavement on them, you have to tamp them down. You got to pound them down into the ground to get them to settle in really tight.
And what do
That's
we
what
use
this-
for that now?
That's what that machine does.
How do we get that done now?
We have one, it's smaller though.
and we've got some large projects, according to John.
Yes, I
that
am.
need some-
Thanks.
So what would be the savings in terms of labor from going from the smaller one to the larger one? Like how many hours of labor are we talking?
I don't think we know. You know, it may be a rental cost. He can rent them. I don't think we know enough of that information to figure out how the $8,000 is going to help us save in other areas, or $9,000.
Are there any of those permanent improvements in 5112 that we're definitely not going to get to though? So we in essence do have the money spare?
Yes, so that was, John was gonna give me a list of all the things that he said he wasn't gonna get done. And, I mean, it's not the matter of, do we have the money or not? Because obviously, a budget is just a plan and you can move your money around however you think. I just am a little leery when we're canceling all of our projects and not spending the money again and again. Our auditors don't like to see that.
Our auditors don't like to see the fact that we're not spending the money. Is that what you're saying?
Yep,
The money that we budgeted.
yes, we've had some projects that we keep budgeting over and over and over again, and we don't do them.
The comptroller's office, I think, worries that this becomes a slush fund.
Yeah.
If you budget money for something, they want you to use
So if we were to buy this larger loader, would that help some of those projects that keep getting put off happen?
No, I don't think so.
it. I think the restraint on your DPW is more the number of people than the pieces of equipment.
Right.
You can have 1,000 pieces of equipment. If you only have 5 guys to work it, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get much else done.
The
Jody,
issue,
what was the
the,
number? What was the number of projects, the dollar amount for projects that are getting canceled, so to speak, that's not gonna happen this year?
He said he would get that list together for me. I haven't received it yet.
And if darts on there, I think that was budgeted for like 200 plus.
correct.
Well, that says you gotta figure out a bunch of other things to spend money on.
But we're still going to need to do that next year.
Yeah,
Right.
One of those projects that just keeps going year after year. Although, like, I do think John, you know, from what he said and what I understand, he got a very good price on this Tampa as well. So
Right.
rather than the usual 13, 14,000, it's 8,000. So it's, whatever that is, 30, 40% off.
Yep.
And that, I don't know if there's a time limit on the sale price or what. It could be good for a while, but it's just hard to say. So it sounds like we need to get more information from John before we decide. And unfortunately, that's what our job is to ask questions. And we need the information from John about the projects that are not going to be started this year. The issue with not starting projects that are budgeted is problematic. Sometimes the issues are out of our control and we just have to postpone because we don't have everything in order. In this case, Graham Road West, I think, was one of the projects, and Dart Drive. And Dart Drive was postponed this year because of NICEAG. Graham Road is being postponed because of the delay in getting the mall subdivision finalized. So, and we only have the construction window of the year to get those done. We could actually start some, but some projects that are started and rest across the winter can suffer damage. So we have to postpone and try to get it done within one solid construction window for the DPW crew. So that is a different issue. But we've also not quite got enough information from John to make a final decision on this purchase, I think. For instance, when does the sale price end? What buckets of money does he feel that this could come from, and some suggestions for us? Or perhaps Jody can provide that discussion with John, but we need to find out the buckets that he thinks that the money could come from, and we could make that decision at our next meeting once we get all the information together.
Well, I know that he said he was not going to do Oak Crest Road. So that project right there is $146,000. So like I said, it's not a matter of not having the money.
Right. We have the money. But taking
It's just
money
how we
from,
spend our money.
right. If we take money, it's problematic if we budget for a project and then don't use the money for the project in 1 year and use it for purchasing equipment. Is it in effect becoming a slush fund?
Or should we, if we're not doing Oak Crest, look at all of our capital plan as to what roads we're thinking about doing the next year? And is there something that you can move into that slot?
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, Ronnie?
Yes, Bill.
We should probably have a good paper trail when we go ahead and decide not to do a project when we initially plan to do it. A memo to the file, something saying it was discussed. This is a view of everybody, and we can document. So if the comptroller comes around in 5 years and does an audit, we can say, no, these are all the reasons we had for it. We recognize what the problems were, and we have a trail of memo, if you will.
I do that
taking-
every year with the AUD
Uh-huh.
because we have to cover our butt to know why we're doing things and what, or we're not doing things.
Yeah, and I don't
So
know the
there's
level.
always a note in there about how we did in like Graham Road, we did not get the property yet, Dart Drive,
Right.
So there's
Good.
always comments, yes, that go in, oh yeah, I make sure.
But if there are reasons why we did one road and another because of an engineering problem, we should just make sure that's in that memo also, so we can back it up with some engineering thinking.
It's definitely a good discussion for trustees to have too. If we could have a brief discussion as to why something's being postponed or projects are being slipped into, other projects are slipping into the budget for this year because of delays for the original project, et cetera. It doesn't hurt to have a trustee discussion about that so we all know it. And then that just helps Jody with her notes for the AUD.
Or even do a resolution that we approve the delay of this project for a
Yeah,
season.
that was alluding to, discussion. And obviously we would say, okay, then you've got that you have our blessing to go and to switch those two projects and do one this year and move the other one to next year or to a future budget cycle. Yeah. So we should probably, and we're getting to the point where we're going to have to make those decisions because of the construction window, what slips from this year to next year due to weather. And we should have a meeting and discuss those and just get the topics that John can, the projects that John could present to us as far as needing to slip and why, and we can vote on those. That's a good suggestion, Bill. Okay.
Yeah, one thing just with the Tampa. So clearly we have the money for it. But from my perspective, then just to be prudent, I would just want to ask John, seeing as we didn't budget for any Tampa, and I thought we had budgeted for this item, apparently we hadn't. So just to be prudent, if he can just let us know how this one differs from the smaller one that they've got and how it would be beneficial. That's
Right.
really all I need, just to, again,
Right.
be prudent, and I would be good with him purchasing it if he gives a good reason why this one's better than the small one.
Okay. All right. I will move on to the next discussion. This one is I can't remember if we had a brief discussion in the past, maybe in an executive session, about our employee benefits. But there was one about, there was a request from the DPW crew specifically asking if we could change our policy on the retiree health benefits section of our handbook. They wanted to know if they could get a better deal on retiree health benefits. And one of the things that was suggested was that we drop the cap. So there are some considerations to be discussed within that. I was doing a little spreadsheet calculation on what the impacts might be to our village. I don't know if I should share it though, because it's got specific health care benefit numbers for our employees. And I don't know if that would be private information. So I didn't want to just throw it up on the screen before we talked about that. We might have to go into executive session for that, for this
I had
topic.
previously sent everyone what it costs for a single and for a family so that you would have the cost and the formula.
Right.
So everyone should have that.
And by the way, Ronnie, in terms of the general numbers, like Jody's talking about, that clearly can be in the public domain. That's spending. If there's a special case where in the past somebody's had a family member with certain medical problems, that probably should be kept confidential.
Okay. And is everyone comfortable with me sharing my Excel screen? And Jody can verify if I got the numbers right too, if I do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Let me see if it will let me. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and make that a full screen and reshare it because it prevents me from doing anything while it's reduced. Okay, there we are. Can you all see that?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so what this first column is the current the healthcare benefits or costs per employee. This is the family, the annual family payments, and that's true of all of our employees except for Mike, who is on his wife's healthcare, and Ben Curtis, who retired some time ago. So this is what we currently pay. This in the yellow is basically what a single employee would cost. And Ben is left off, obviously, and Mike is still at $5,000. And so this column C shows the percentage of a single employee's health or retiree health care, what it would be now at 60%, which is our current handbook model or calculation formula for the calculation. And there's also a $2,400 cap.
Isn't
So-
a single family, a single person is $700 a month? I don't know where you got the 17,000 from.
I'm not sure either. I did a calculation, but it's been months ago
Can
to
you
get to
click
that.
on it? Well, it will show you the calculation up in your.
Yeah,
formula bar.
it's showing you the calculation right there.
At 80%.
I think I tried to calculate it from the Health Consortium's numbers.
No,
And-
what that looks like is, it looks like the total that's paid for a family membership is 21,660, but then you're figuring out what the village pays as far as their share, because the village pays the first 1,550 and then 80% after that. So out of that 21,660, the village currently pays 17,638.
Okay.
That's what that is.
So that's what we currently pay. And if we paid 60% of that as a retiree, then this would be the amount that we would pay. And with the $2,400 cap, to give them this full amount, we would be paying an additional $8,182, $8,183 per year, which is a total of $32,000. Yeah, that's just not all going to happen at one time, obviously. And the costs of healthcare are going to be increasing, obviously. So the DPW guys had recommended that we zero out or just basically drop the cap. So if we make that zero, then we would be paying this full amount, except for Mike. And I think we would only be paying up to $5,000 a year because he's on his wife's health care.
So if I could go, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. If I could go with an example using Jody, sorry, Jody. Proposed annual retiree, is that the family, the 10, column C, is that the family?
No.
Or is that just the retiree?
We would only pay a single employee's, 60% of the single employees, an individual employee's retiree healthcare.
Oh, so
The
we
family
don't,
plan would be dropped. They would be responsible for anything above that for the family.
oh, okay, I
That
didn't realize
doesn't
that.
work out either. Because if you're saying, for instance, you're $700 times 12. Okay, that's a different number,
It's 7,000, that's 8,400.
400.
So, all right, so we have to spend some time looking at this. I didn't realize, I was reading the handbook and all the examples in there say a single person. So some people have family, but if you were to retire, we are only going to cover the retiree, we're still not going to cover the family.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I think that is the difference of what the DPW was talking about, that they would want to be able to continue on the same plan that you're on when you retire. So if
Yeah.
you're on a family plan, stay on the family plan.
So somebody like John, whose wife doesn't work, he would like to be able to retire at the age of 65, let's say, and cover him and his wife with our insurance, right?
At age 55 to 64.
55 to
Yes.
65, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
because once you turn 65, then you go to Medicare,
Correct.
then you gotta have a supplemental plan. And so we're paying for some portion of the supplemental plan, which currently states up to $2,400 or 60% of something. So, okay, all right. If you get 20 years in and you retire at 55 or 58 or something, they want to be able to cover their spouse until they're 65 and they go on Medicare. And what's that cost to us?
Right now, it would be $21,000 and or 21,660 annually.
That'd be if you paid 100% of their family coverage.
Right. But from what you said, that's what they want. They want us to cover them and their family.
I think what they were talking is right now going with the same formula they have now. So that in turn would cost you that 17,638 number.
Okay.
What's the current 80 or 60?
60.
60, right?
Yes.
I saw 60 in the book. I heard,
That's
but I was
paid
hearing 80.
now. That's paid now for normal insurance for regular employees.
Oh, no, we pay all of it.
No, we do not. We pay the first bit, the village pays the first 1,550 and then 80% after that.
Okay. So
That
this is
formula
what
right
we would be
there.
paying.
Yeah, so that's what that is, yes.
That's what this is.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's been a while since I put this together and I didn't keep good notes.
So what the 60% is what is right now in the retirement health benefit. That the village will pay 60% of the cost of single coverage. That's what's the benefit now.
Between 55 and 65.
Correct.
And then when you go to Medicare, how much are they paying for supplemental insurance? I saw 24 up to 2,400. I think it was still 60% of the retiree.
The retired employee shall be reimbursed annually for 100% of their out-of-pocket expenses for Medicare supplement plan or another supplement plan in an amount not to exceed 2,400. Up to 2,400.
Yeah. All right. So one of the requests that I am hearing from the employees, if I got this right, is to have their spouses covered after they retire at the same percentage that we do now, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Otherwise, if it was a single, it's 700 a month. Is that correct, Jody, from what you sent out?
That is what the total cost is, yes, for a single monthly premium.
So then it would be 8,400 the
Correct.
full amount.
Mhm.
So, excuse me, is that the one thing that we're discussing here? Was there anything else? And by the way, when I read this, just, I know with other companies, if you were to retire at, let's say 55, and you're on our insurance, and then you go out and get another full-time job, then you're off our insurance, and it doesn't say that here. You know, then you go to the other guy's insurance, and you can't come back. So, I mean, there's a reward for staying here for 20 years, which is kind of nice. You know, if you stay, this is what you're entitled to. I don't know what other municipalities are doing. But I guess that's the discussion.
I mean, is that something that you want me to look into for you guys? What the different municipalities around us, or you guys could do it?
I'd kind of like to know what the other folks are doing for insurance for retirees. Wouldn't you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for comparison. Yeah.
No.
It would be interesting.
Yeah, how do we compare?
Might it be helpful for you folks to bring in a consultant with a limited budget spending and get somebody to lay it out for you? Not that we can't do this, I suppose, but get somebody who's actually in the business and knows what's going on.
And you're talking about getting that from like the town of Lansing and
Right.
other, Dryden, the other municipalities, right, locally?
A
We
consultant
can
may know
gather
that.
that,
Or
we can
somebody,
gather that information. We don't need to pay somebody to do that for us. Right? It
Just ask
doesn't
them to
make
send
sense.
us the retiree health benefits package or information.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could do that and then take a look at it and see if we need help figuring it out. I tried approaching the health consortium, but they don't really track retiree health benefits for each of the municipalities.
Mhm.
And what they said is you can do anything you want to do as a village, whatever you're willing to pay. And that's all they said. So I was hoping to use them as a consultant, but it really didn't work out. So would any of you like to volunteer to contact the local municipalities to get that information?
I mean, I'll do it if no one else does. Jody, did I hear you say it's not that hard to do?
No, you just call
didn't
up and
say-
you find out what's in there. Everyone has an employee handbook. So basically someone called me and said, what do you do for retirement? I'd take that page out of our retirement book and send it to them.
Is our
So-
employee handbook on the internet?
No.
It's not on our village website. Okay,
No.
No.
all right.
And you won't find most people's employee handbook on their website either. That's more of an internal document.
So you end up contacting, folks in the offices at each of these municipalities.
Yep.
All right. All right, I'll work with you on it.
Okay.
isn't that information they may not want to give out?
No, they give it out. We've called before.
I think they will.
Yes, I know.
And I'm
that.
guessing they all know you and they don't know me, so there we go. All right,
I don't think there would be a problem as long as we tell them we're looking at revamping our retiree health benefits, and we would greatly appreciate any information they have within their handbooks about how to do that. And then we will just compile it and compare it and see if we can upgrade or update our handbook to be something similar to what the DPW and Jody and Mike obviously all want, the staff wants. So thank you, Randy, for doing that. If you can, try to put it together before our first meeting in October, which is the 4th, I believe. And if not, let us know if things are dragging and you're just not going to have it ready in time. And we can try to consolidate it at our meeting, or at least discuss it. Okay. Thank you. The next topic is mayor's comments, and I don't really have anything except I want to discuss with you creating or updating our face mask policy to be something similar to what Tompkins County is doing within its government buildings, and that is to ask that our employees within the buildings, employees within buildings wear face masks when they are in the building, except when they are in their personal workspace, in their office or at their workstation. So basically my concern is that we're coming up on the winter months and we won't be able to go outside. The DPW guys will not be able to be outside as much, and we're going to be in confined spaces. And without face masks, we run the risk of exposing each other and visitors to COVID, or actually to anything, but to COVID most specifically. And therefore, they can take that home and spread it to their family and to their friends. And I want to avoid that. And the county has just basically said that if you're at your workstation, a mask is not necessary. But if you're leaving your workspace to go into a more public area of the building, or if you're interfacing with someone who's visiting the offices, you should be wearing a face mask. And our current pandemic operation plan doesn't really say that. It recommends that we wear face masks, but nothing quite this specific. And I would like to have the trustees' input on whether we should do this or not. Let me show you. This is just basically a first draft, which I sort of tailored from the county's guidelines, and I will share that with us. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so here it is. When an employee leaves their workstation to go to the printer, bathroom, counter, etc., they should wear a face covering. And I put a note: when an employee is at their workstations, in most cases, they will not need to wear a mask unless a visitor or another employee are within 6 feet of their workstation. For instance, if you're showing someone on screen. Also, when an employee should wear a face covering, when an employee does not have a defined office space, no cubicle or desk, the physical accommodations cannot be made, and it cannot be assured that they will be able to maintain a 6-foot separation from another individual, being an employee or a visitor. And then when an employee is in an inside break area, in our case, probably the kitchen area, if the employee is eating or drinking in this area, they should keep a 6-foot separation from another individual, because you can't keep your face mask on and drink and eat at the same time. And just a reminder that the employee should use remote meeting software if they're going to meet for more than 45 minutes. So this is what I was looking at, and we would just put a sign on our office doors that says face masks are required in this building. And if someone comes in without a mask, we would ask them to put it on while they are inside the building. So any discussion?
But basically, if Mike and Jody are in their offices, they don't need the mask.
No. But if Jody's going to the printer and she'll be standing at the printer, and Mike comes by and she doesn't have her face mask on, there's a chance that she could expose him. And the same for Mike. And then also the DPW crew, if they are working close together within their office rather than in the garage where they can't necessarily keep 6 feet of separation between them, they would need to wear masks in there too. And obviously the remote meeting thing is in place too. That's one of the reasons that I'm glad it's back, because we can actually use remote meetings when we absolutely have to. But if we have visitors into the building, we need to require that they wear masks for our protection and for their protection.
I guess one caveat that we have different than a lot of other municipalities is how tiny we are. And I wonder how often, and Jody, you can answer this, how often Jody or Mike are the only one in the building. And if I were the only one in the building, I might not want to wear a mask, even in the bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely. There are times when Jody or Mike are there by themselves. And if that's the case, they don't need to wear a mask. It's just if there's a chance encounter with another employee or a visitor to the building, then they would need a mask.
So I would
Absolutely.
just write, I would just clarify that.
Yeah,
Could
because
do
there
that.
are times when Mike's in his office and I walk to the copier and print something and go back to my office. So to stop, go dig out a mask, put it on, just to go out to that copier when I'm not even gonna run into him. I mean, I can understand when we are going to be close together to talk about something, or if someone else is coming in the building, I understand that. So
Right.
that's not a problem, but, I mean, it just seems silly I have to throw on a mask when I'm not gonna be by anybody. You know, to walk to that when I decide I need to leave my office to go to the bathroom. And I hardly ever run into him. So, I mean.
And maybe could we change it then that you,
Yeah.
maybe if we change it to you have to have your mask on you at all times, and if you are going to be within 6 feet of someone, then you can put it on. Because that way, then, you know, like you go to the bathroom, you just take your mask with you, but you don't have to wear it. If there is someone within 6 feet, then you can put it on that way. Is that simpler? Because we just
I
don't
just
have
think we've been
people.
very responsible up till now and worked really well with this. And we are very conscious if we need to throw a mask on because we're close to someone. I don't. personally,
Yeah,
I
like
don't
if
see
someone else
policy
comes in,
for it, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, like if someone comes into the, like a member of the public comes into the building, then employees are required to wear a mask in interfacing with
mhm,
the public.
mhm.
Well, I thought we were pretty much doing that. I thought people
We are.
were wearing when they come in.
No,
We are.
no, that's not true, because I've been there several times that people aren't wearing masks. And I'm guilty myself of coming in and wearing a mask in, going into my office and doing work and rushing out to tell Jody something and forgetting my mask.
But you're
And,
not within 6 feet of me either.
Well, but I would lean over
No.
your shoulder and look at your computer screen. And, you know, there are times when I'm just as guilty as anyone else.
And that's
there-
gonna happen and it's.
and I've seen visitors come through the front door. Some wear masks and some do not. We need to enforce the fact that if you come in without a mask, you have to put a mask on. And we just have a box of masks near the plexiglass to Jody's window, to Jody's office, sorry, and ask them to put on a mask while they're inside the building.
So basically, we just need to put a note back on the door like we had before that you must have a mask on to enter.
Yes.
I think the easiest because, you know, if they enter and they don't have a mask on, it's a little late, isn't it? Then they put a mask on. Just have them do it before they come in,
Mhm.
which I think we did have a sign up.
Right. We can do that too. But I do want to reinforce the fact with our employees that we need to wear masks when we're in close proximity to each other within the buildings too. If you go to any of the other businesses, almost all of the businesses that I visit, rarely, the employees are all wearing masks all of the time. Some of the customers do, some of the customers don't. But I think it's our responsibility as village government and staff, employees, to present an image that we take this seriously and we want to protect you, the public, and protect ourselves. And if we don't practice it, it's hard to preach it. Not all the time, obviously. If you're there alone or you're in your own workspace, there's no need for a mask. But there are other times when masks are needed. And we just need to enforce that fact. And I think that the winter months, the bad weather months are just going to exacerbate the problem everywhere. And I just want to be prepared within our buildings to deal with it, to address it. So what I will do is I will try to remember all of the recommended changes from tonight. I will incorporate them into this document and I will forward it to everyone, including the staff, the employees, and let everyone make comments. I might share it as as a Google Doc so you can comment directly to the document if people don't mind doing that. If you do, then let me know and you can make your comments in a document that comes by email. And we can work this out. But I would like to get it done in time for the bad weather. And I would suspect, I was also going to propose that we just put this in place until January 15th, because that's the deadline or the end of the remote meeting exemptions right now. And so we could just shoot for that. And we could say after January 15th, we'll look at it again. And if the state decides that they need to extend that, we will extend ours with the state because they've got more data going on about people being exposed and the number of cases and so forth. So if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with it.
Okay. And that's really the only thing beyond what our topics tonight that I wanted to say, but does anyone else have anything? Jody, are we missing anything that you need from us
No.
for tonight?
No.
Okay. Randy, do you have something?
Yes, sir.
Simon?
People keep calling me like I'm maintenance for the village. I got this yesterday. This is off the playground, so I got to drop it in to John later on. Someone called me up, said it had fallen off. They left it in the pavilion. So I was going to go put it back on today, but I had the kids with me and Mike had my truck. So
Let John know. Let him fix it.
someone else called me up and asked me if I can tell them if their chimney is good to use this winter, and I don't know why, but apparently I'm maintenance for the village, and I do chimney inspections for it.
I forgot to mention that to you when you joined the trustees, didn't I?
Maybe there's something on the website somewhere that's screwy.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry that I forgot to tell you.
I've had
that
it quite a few times. People call me about random things in the village, and if I can fix this, or I don't know. I think people know my day job and then think that I also do it for the village. But
that's
I keep breaking him to
possible.
John. It's like just contact the DPW.
Well, you need to set boundaries and just say that's not me. That's our DPW department or whomever. You can always send them my way. And I'll tell.
I'm sure if this went missing, it's pretty heavy metal. This probably cost a small fortune to rebuy.
To find a replacement.
Yeah,
It's possible. Just the bolt for it, maybe.
Yeah. So I'll drop that off to John tomorrow.
Okay, thanks. Pat, how about you? Do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Carolyn.
Well, I took a tiny step forward with the solar code change. Lisa and Tony and I are now forming a little committee to discuss. And Lisa, based on what Ronnie just proposed with regard to meetings over 45 minutes being virtual, I think we should nix the plan to meet in the community room and maybe meet virtually.
Sounds like a good idea. Yep.
Thank you. Randy.
Good luck with Rosina Drive.
I think I've got it worked out. I don't know
No,
yet.
she insists that she's half in the village and half in the town.
But the town's responsible for the road. We can't do anything to the road.
Yeah.
So I will keep working. I will keep working on it. We will see what we see. I tried to be nice, and there's no reason not to be nice. I just that when I looked at the map, the line goes right down the street, and I was saying, well, gosh, I don't know if we're responsible or not. So, but John put me straight, and we'll get it worked out one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm just trying to on with Rosina there is I don't see that as a pass through from going from one arterial road to another, not like Dart Drive where you're going from Warren to Triphammer. So it seems more of a neighborhood issue that there's someone within that neighborhood that's speeding through that neighborhood,
Right.
and maybe you could go to track that person down and just say, hey,
Stop
slow
that.
down. It's
But
a little
it may
bit.
also be delivery trucks like food delivery or FedEx or UPS or somebody that could be speeding. But I'll let the town take it over, and if they need our assistance, they can ask us, and we can help out if we need to. But we'll get it resolved one way or the other. I've explained that just because you ask people to stop speeding doesn't mean that they will. And if you're not going to enforce it, it's most likely going to continue to happen. And that's what Dark Drive has experienced for quite some time now. So
I do have one quick thing talking about speeding. Because I walk pretty much every day up Oakcrest, the speeding there is really out of control. It's become so bad. And people have said to me, is there anything the village can do? I know in the past, we've asked if the sheriff could put somebody in that, by the fire department, but I haven't seen any police there in a long time. Is there anything the village can do?
Raise the speed limit.
We can get a sidewalk in there, Pat, and you'll feel a little safe walking on your sidewalk down there, Chris.
then we'll have it for a stretch anyway.
And I have to tell you, the one person, well, I don't know if it's the same person, but the UPS trucks that go up and down there, but I don't even know if they even look at the speed limit. They're going so fast. I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, they really are going fast. So I don't know. I don't think we can do anything. I suppose we can't enforce police monitor it, but if they do, they normally get the people that are just one-time speeders.
Yeah, the one time that this is the first time I was speeding. Bill, did you have something?
Yeah, I know some UPS people, their trucks are really governed carefully, at least followed. They know how fast you've gone. They know when you're taking the seatbelt off. They know whether you made a right turn or a left turn. It's very Orwellian. So it shocks me to hear they're speeding because they could easily get in trouble.
I've noticed that FedEx Express keeps to the speed limit. The UPS does not. So I don't know. That's interesting you say that. So I wonder how they get away with that.
Do what we do in our neighborhood and throw tennis balls at them. They'll get their attention.
What was that one, Jody? I didn't get it.
She says throw tennis balls at them like they do in her neighborhood.
No, that's
Gets their attention.
I certainly don't.
Yeah. Just as long as it doesn't startle them into an accident. That's the only thing.
Or as long as it's not a guy from New York with a 9mm. You'd be sorry.
And we don't want to
in Texas, that happens every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't want to give them finger things because that starts a little bit too. So anyhow.
Randy.
All right. So I'd throw it in.
Randy.
One other thing I just thought of, there wasn't much fanfare, but there's a small amount announcement that the CMC, Cayuga Medical, and the YMCA have formed a joint relationship to do some things together. And this will probably impact us in a good way down the road a little ways. Can't say anything now, but there'll be some good news coming.
That's great.
That will affect our village, I think, in a good way.
I would like some good news for a change.
Yeah.
So you let us know if you hear of it first. One comment I have, and then we'll close up. I know that everyone, it's a late night, especially for Jody. One of the reasons that the sheriff's department is not doing as much traffic surveillance is they are required to support outdoor parties where people might not be following social distancing and causing problems with COVID. They were doing that for a while. It was really stretching them thin at times. So I think that during the last year, they were required to make those calls, and it just put them behind all of their other responsibilities. And traffic surveillance or stops on residential streets was just probably out of the question for a while. Bill.
I heard it directly from the sheriff about 4 months ago. He was down to 14 road deputies.
Yeah.
Period.
So
they only have 2 or 3 deputies on, and then the 8-hour shift.
Right. So they're stretched right now, but we can still ask, but it just might not happen as soon or as quickly or for as long as we would like. So with that, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Okay, you go.
Randy,
I'll second.
Pat seconded. Simon gave his third also. Okay, so all those in favor, just say aye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Jody. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Carolyn,
you.